Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy back with a cute but feral reversible tab card with some real-time instruction there. I thought I would share with you what my desk looks like on the regular. So yes, I literally work in maybe a square foot of space on my huge. I have like an 8-foot long desk, but of course, that's with all my die cutting stuff. But usually my actual desk, like where I actually stand and work, is maybe a square foot of space. I like to have things around me. So I actually did 2 cards with this one. I'm going to kind of bump back and forth between the two because it took me forever to do the first one. And so I'm going to kind of explain it and go from there. But so I started with, I thought I could use the top part of Whimsy Stamps UFO die set, but I brought in Trinity Stamps Summertime Sips die set for my garbage can on this one. And then, of course, I'm bringing in a Lawn Fawn's Possum set for, this one. I think there's 2 Possum sets. I brought in everything that was like trash related or screaming related. So the Cicada set that they did last summer and the Trash Panda and the 2 Possum sets that I have, because obviously I was using the Possum, so I wanted to do, so I had my options open for sentiments when I got around to it. So for the coloring on this one, I kept it fairly simple. I kept it to whatever colors of markers were on my desk, like within reach. So most of them are in the 60 series of the Ohuhu. Oh, no, the Ohuhu markers, yes. I can't talk today. I'm sorry, I have a cold. Yeah. So normally I would edit my speaking out and redo it, but it's just the coloring. I kept it super simple. I don't even think I give you the colors at the end. I did speed the coloring up to 4, like almost 5 times my speed. I kept it very, Possum's not too hard to color, right? I did pull it up on my phone so I could kind of compare and look and see that my Possum colors were going to be okay. I will say this, they vary in coloring, and I like how this one ended up turning. I did use warm gray for my Possum. I thought about using some yellow grays, but I stuck with the warm grays, and I kind of liked how it turned out. So keeping, a dark, I don't want to say dark because it really wasn't super dark, but like a medium gray, and then a little bit lighter gray, and then of course just like a washed out gray or white, kind of like just a blending overall to get that full effect. I did do both of them. The first one that I did, I left the paw white because I was kind of like, it could look like garbage, And then I changed my mind later on and added the pink to the little paw. But here is the ink blending on the actual. So the Summertime Sips cup kind of can look like a garbage can if you make it look like a garbage can, right? So I cut it out of green cardstock, and then I cut 3 sentiment strips out of that same green cardstock. So 1 a little bit longer, 2 of them the same size, so it kind of gives you the ridges of the garbage can. I have been waiting to do this one because I hadn't figured out how I was going to make my garbage can until, it just, I don't know, popped into my head the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I can totally use the Summertime Sips cup from Trinity Stamps. But I would say, even like if you have a takeout mug style cup would probably work for a garbage can, especially when I ended up abandoning the top like I wanted to. So this card was originally, the idea was sent to me by Kate from Kate's Craft. It was like where you pull on the bottom and the garbage lid opens and the little possum pops out or something like that. It would have been a little bit different mechanism. It wouldn't have been this mechanism. I was thinking about doing it that way, but my Possum was too big for my garbage can, and it just wasn't going to go. Anyways, this is actually my second take at this one, so I kind of have most of my stuff down pat at this point. My first go was not this smooth, I will say that. Anyway, so onto this one. I had to limit where I could put my tape on this one because you really only get like a eighth of an an eighth of an inch on each side for, you know, this one in general. And so I cut down that insert piece, which I think is supposed to be used to cut for a shaker window on the Summertime Sips card, but it worked well. You wouldn't have even need that. You could have just done a rectangle piece that would have, you know, because I'm really just using it as my mechanism to pop the little possum out of the garbage can. I also knew that I wanted the garbage lid to come up with the possum. So I want the garbage lid to kind of be on his head. That was at least my thought on this one. And it was the hindrance of me using the other one because I just couldn't figure out how to get the lid to come up and behind him, which I'm sure I probably could have figured it out. But I ended up going this route and I liked it. So I added a little bit of foam tape there so it was going to be a little bit taller than my cup once my cup is adherent onto my card. So for my card base here, I'm using I think it's called the Double Slider die set from MFT. I use the smaller of the two. If you don't have it, you don't need it. Just cut some little slits. You're just going to need a little bit of a sliver in between there so you can actually, you know, get the little slit. So if you have different dies that would work for that, or just your, you know, 2 slits with your, I don't know, paper cutter. Obviously the guillotine one's not going to work, but with a paper cutter or a knife, and then just make sure that you, and then connect the little lines to give you a little space opening, will work as well. So for this one, I needed to do my inking. I just really needed to go around my garbage can. I didn't need to do the whole panel. So to save a little bit of time, I only inked where I knew that I needed the inking to be. So I used some mahogany, aged mahogany for that one. And then I'm going to turn it over to me so you can actually listen to it in real time. Okay, let's talk the mechanism on this one. So I'm doing this one in real time, popping it out just because I think it'll be easier to understand. It really doesn't take that long. I don't think this one's going to be big enough. Okay, this is just a Ziplock bag. I think it's probably, it's either the large, you know, gallon storage one or a freezer gallon. I'm not exactly sure. Either one will work. The better the quality, I think sometimes I think this one might just be a storage bag. It's whatever I had, but I pre-cut a whole bunch of strips just using my guillotine cutter for the size that's going to cut through those little holes. If you don't have the die, these are from MFT. They're the, I think, twist and, I don't know, slider surprise maybe. Oh, I want to do this the other way, don't I? I guess it really doesn't matter. Let me flip it. So you have the seam there. You don't want the seam to be in your way, right? So we're gonna run this one through the front, this one through the front, and come back onto the bottom side. I like to keep my seam on this one towards the bottom because I want, it's gonna pull up and pull down, right? And so I kind of want to make sure that it's going to be in the proper spot. You don't want to make it too tight. You want to have a little bit of give there. You don't want it to be stupid tight, I guess, would be how I would describe it. Like snug. I don't want it to be snug. I want there to be, so this would be snug, like pulling it tight, and then you're not going to be able to move it. You want to have just a little bit of wiggle room. You don't want it to be too loose, but you want it to be loose enough that you can kind of wiggle it in and out. So I use score style tape, and then I'm just going to pull this one up, line it, well, try to line it up. And you can adjust where this is before you get too far. And then I'm just going to kind of trim off my tail here. Push that down a little bit. I just want to make sure that it's going to rotate, so it'll rotate through. Keep in mind, so maybe I want it at the top. I can't remember on this one. This one is going to pull down. So yeah, I want it up on top. Excuse me. I might have a cold.
Impossible to believe, but yes, I want to stamp this before I get too far. I want to do, though the pull is on the other thing. So I'm just going to selectively ink. Maybe I'm going to selectively ink it. Doesn't look like I did a very good selective because I'm trying to live record. That's usually how it goes. Okay. Clean that off. Clean that off. Okay. Most of this we're not going to see anyway, so it's not like it really matters, but it's just kind of a fun little extra. So I don't want to put it right at the end because I know I'm going to have either something there or I need the pull tab there. So, excuse me. So I have my on there, right? So I'm going to line this up and I'm going to trim it before I get too far here. So I'm going to trim off this top a little bit. I don't need it to be that long. So once I have this kind of figured out here, I'm going to come in, and you can definitely use your score style tape and do another layer of score style tape. I am just going to go in and do a staple. I usually staple this, but if I know I need my pull tab on there, I just staple that over my pull tab. I hope that makes sense. Like, so I want to staple the seam. That's kind of the whole point, is stapling that seam. So I'm going to staple over my seam and my pull tab to it all at the same time. It's just a little less staples to use, but you can pull this way unless you go too far. And so I'm happy with the placement on that one. It's going to shift around a little bit, so get it to where you want it. In there, and then flip it, hold it over. It's not exactly straight on this one. It's not really going to matter. So I cut some, these just come with the set from MFT, but it's just a stabilizer, so a little piece of paper, and then score it if you need to. Make it just a teeny tiny little bit wider than your pull tab, so your pull tab kind of goes in and out. I'm going to add 2 stabilizers to this, and I only do it because this is the only thing that's holding that pull tab kind of in place there. Well, if I can get it threaded, there we go. I think I have enough room. I might not have enough. Okay, I lied. I don't have enough room on this one, so I won't. I'm just going to glue this one on, so it's kind of just in between where my mechanism is, where that mechanism is, and then where my pull tab is, kind of lining that one up. Holding that one down. Okay, now back to this side. So ultimately we want our little possum here to pop his little head out, right? So ultimately this is kind of where I want him to start. I don't need all of this because it's not all gonna show. At this point, it is wise to start with a little bit of adhesive and then add from there. So usually I just lift it up. I pick the lowest point because I want it to move farther up. It doesn't have to go all the way. There's ways to stop it, but I'll start here and then I can always peel this off and readjust if I need to. So I'm going to start with him. I kind of want my garbage can to be here. And you see he's going to, that's the amount of distance that he's going to move, right? So depending upon how far you want him out of your garbage can will really depend on where you place him on you know, in this case it's a garbage can, but if you're popping something out of something else, that's kind of how you can tell where you want it. Now, because my image is going to be behind this, I can use a staple on this one. I'm also going to kind of give myself a little cut line here. I'm going to peel this back off, but I'm going to cut, well, okay, I'm going to peel it back off. I'm going to cut the little bottom part off just because I don't want it to get caught later on. Once I have everything on there, I don't want this piece. I kind of want, I'll show you the one that's done. I kind of want it to sit at least there so I don't have to worry about it trying to tuck behind my other piece there. So I'm just gonna take off a little bit here. Not a big deal, one way or the other. And then finding that proper spot on here again. Where do I want my garbage can to sit? So let's kind of place my garbage can. I want my garbage can up a little bit further, so I'm going to place him up a little bit further. Kind of figuring where that top is where the top of my garbage can is going to sit, which is about right there. Okay, so once I have him there, I'm going to use a staple because I can on this one. It's not going to be seen, so you don't have to worry about it sticking out, but it'll ensure that it's going to stay. It's not going to come loose. I would suggest if you are doing something that, because I've done some in the past where they kind of like cross or they meet, because there's some different techniques with this one, but if it's going to show, then definitely use your double-sided score tape and probably a little bit of glue to make sure that it's going to stay and stick. That's, you know, my best advice for you. So here's hoping that we can put a stopper here so it won't go further down with just a piece of tape behind here, and then it'll work like we want it to. But that's basically how you do that reverse pull. So there's the back, how the back looks, and then how the front looks. And then you get that reverse pull. So you pull down and he pops up. So it's kind of a fun one to do. Anyways, back to sped up version.
My voice sounded so much better yesterday. Anyways, so now it's just a matter of me decorating the rest of it. So I did do this one to fit into the craft roulette parameters for the week. I don't remember what week this number is. It's like 200 and something. I don't know. It's the one that had JD on it as one of the parameters, so you'll see how I wiggle that one in. I mean, there's many options for that one, but so I kind of wanted this one to kind of look like a bumper sticker, or like a, you know what I mean, like a raggedy old bumper sticker that's just like stuck onto the garbage can. That was kind of what I was going for. I don't want it to look crisp and clean because it's on a garbage can. So I thought the cute but feral was kind of funny. See, it would kind of work for a little kid, right? I have nephews. They're cute, but sometimes they're feral little creatures. So I also wanted to put on a little possum tail hanging out of the garbage can because I thought it would be kind of cute. It kind of looks like a rat tail, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm happy it's a cute little possum and not a rat, I guess. The only rat I like is the one from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Or from, what's the other one? Pinky and the Brain. Yep, I can do that rat too. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to add this one on. Now, if you look at, so if you hang out through the end, I actually kind of liked how my other card came out better. Like, you know, the garbage that I had on the ground around the garbage can. But it's okay. You know, I was pulling stuff that I have in my stash of already put together and colored things because I didn't want to spend any more time coloring and cutting out things. But this is where I decided, yep, I need to put the hand back in as a hand. And I couldn't put like the 6th or 7th. I don't know. There was like an extra little finger there. I just did it red, so it kind of went with the other little red piece that I added later on. So I was trying to figure out where my adhesive could go on this one. I forgot that I cut this piece like I just cut it from scrap, and so I hadn't cut it down to size. And so I totally forgot that it was like way longer than my card front until I pulled everything off and had to put it on there. And I was like, oh man, it's like right there is when I realized, huh, it's like bigger than my card base. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to put it on there and then I'll trim it. So that's what I did. You know, it was a little trickier to trim this way, but it worked. Whatever. Sometimes we have days like these, right? Yeah. So I knew that my little possum was going to sit on the inside of this one. It was just a matter of making sure that it didn't touch it as I was putting it down. So when I did cut the possum out, I cut it with a Brother Scan and Cut on like 0.04 border, but I did have to cut down a little bit on the sides to get them to fit inside the garbage can. And if you stick around for the super fed up version of my first one, you'll kind of see some of the mistakes that I made on the first one that go a whole lot easier on the second one. I'm not going to lie. It goes a whole lot better the second time through when you're making one that you haven't done before. At least I've done this one before, but I haven't done one in a very long time when it comes to the reverse slider pull tab. And so, you know, it's been a while. So for this one, I decided this is a garbage can that must be on the outskirts of, like, maybe it's behind the art studio. And, you know, this is kind of how it goes. So empty paint tubes that obviously the possum did not want to eat. So he kicked them out of the garbage can. And then, of course, it had all those little splats from the paint as well. I thought it was kind of fun to throw those in there. Yes, this is, I think it's close to my heart, part of the, I think it's just the art set. I know there's an easel set, and I think this one comes with like the art pieces, so it's like paint tubes and brushes and those types of things. Well, I have a bunch of them already cut out, put together, so that's kind of what I went through and picked and kind of went that route. There was a cracked egg. I thought that was fun to throw in there. If you'll see my second card, and even if you zoom ahead to the end to see it, the second card has that eggshell on there and some other garbage type things that I kind of liked. Because there was the foliage in around the possum, I decided to pull in some of the little foliage that I had cut out already, and I thought that was kind of, so maybe it's fall at the art studio. I don't know. And I was just trying to pull in and add a few things, make sure that my colors were kind of met. So I have the three little pieces of red there, and I have the green and the yellow kind of went across. I decided I needed something else to match that blue because it was kind of like out there, didn't really go. But I also needed to add a ticket to make it work for my craft roulette card. So I brought in the little ticket stamp and added JD on there. So even though the Cute and Feral kind of would work for JD, I did decide that maybe I should just put the JD on the tickets, because, that's probably cuter. Anyways, so for my card front, I did remember to die cut out the little pull tab thing from the front of the card base before I put my card front on. So for this one, I used Big Mama foam tape. It's just like a 1 millimeter thick foam tape. You can get, you can buy it other places than Simon's Stamp, but I just kind of sandwich it around my pull tab so it's not in the way of the pull tab, but it gives just that teeny tiny little bit of lift that allows that pull tab to work and pull more smoothly or better. Lining this one up did not go the greatest, but, I got it eventually. And now for the inside sentiment stuff. I had so many ideas for the sentiments on this one, and I didn't know which one I wanted to do, and I thought about putting some graffiti on the wall. Ultimately, I just ended up going, because I think I was thinking tag instead of ticket, but I already had the ticket on there, so I was like, going to tag the wall with graffiti. Yeah. Anyways, so you're trash, but I like it. So, it's a fun one to kind of put together. So here is my Hot Mess Express one. editing on this one would have taken me probably an extra hour. I really truly probably ended up going, like, I think I had 2+ hours of footage in total, and so this one was just because I don't, when I create, like, in the moment, I I don't always thought process it through. The second one I made went way faster and way smoother, and that's why you got to watch that one. I wasn't going to record it, and then I thought, you know what, it's going to be easier for me to live explain this one to you. So if you needed another quick explanation, there's that quick explanation for this one. It really, once you do one, it's really easy to do. But there's so many fun things to do. I know I've done some other ones. They'll be in my interactive playlist if you're looking for them. But it's like where you pull on the pull tab and the two critters meet, but then you need like another line in there, or you have to have a, I think I used either like clear acetate sheets work, but you can make like two critters meet because you can run that pull tab and have a slit in there, and then your critters can be on little, I'm trying to think, acetate picks, and then that acetate pick will run the opposite direction of your other one, or the same, so then they can meet in the middle, which is kind of fun. So it's a fun little technique to use, and I haven't done it for a long time. I don't think I've ever done it for this style. I've done it for the other one where my little critters meet in the middle, which is kind of fun too. So I think I ended up adding like 2 of the little holder thingies because I was further up when I did my pull tab thing, and it just doesn't always go as smoothly as we would like. And this is where I learned that I really needed to trim down quite a bit off of the sides. And this one I had added my foam tape right onto the side of it to try to kind of figure out where the best place was going to be for it. Realized that I was going to run into trouble there. And, it was just, that's kind of how I create in general. I might do some more real-time creating. I've been struggling to get videos edited and up. Editing just takes a really long time. Voicing over takes a really long time. And I just haven't been motivated to do it lately, which is sad because I liked doing it for a very long time, and I don't know. It's just I've been struggling this year with that functionality of the YouTube thing. So I like creating, but I've noticed that I hinder my creativity by not, by recording them and then not getting to them, because then I feel guilty that I haven't gotten to the editing and stuff. So, yeah. I have been doing my Get Creeping videos every month, and I've still been doing my Let's Start Stamping series, which is recorded and edited all at the same time. Those ones take me like half an hour to edit, because basically it's just uploading and then loading them into my editing software and piecing them together, and I don't have to voice over. I'm figuring out a title that's put it. So those aren't too bad. But maybe I'll do more like that. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions of what you guys like to see and or hear, and maybe I'll find that drive to actually do edited down videos and voicing over again. I probably have 6 of them sitting on my computer to edit and voice over. I don't know. We'll see. And so, yep, this is when, that's why I said it's so much easier to do it the second time around than the first time around, but I enjoy the process the first time around so much more. I did end up cutting my pull tab off the first time because I didn't have it in the right place when I put it on there. And to me, it wasn't a big deal. I just was like, it is what it is. Cut it off, and I was going to cover it up anyways, so it wasn't a huge deal. And so I was like, now I needed to decorate it. And so this is where, I came in and did the tail. I will say my tail on this one looks better color-wise because I used some Bristol Smooth cardstock, and the other one I just used a random piece of white cardstock that was sitting on my desk, and it was not alcohol marker friendly. So you don't get the the color was darker in it, and I didn't like that much. But, you know, it is what it is. I had so many, there's so many options for this one. Like, I wanted to do the Let's Holler at Me and all the other things. I ended up going with the because I didn't wait to stamp, I waited to stamp it until it was already put together. So that was one of those things that I remembered to do before I got that far on the one that you watched me do. So, and then of course, kind of doing the same thing on this one. This one I ended up doing double-sided tape on the back of it before I cut it out. So I just used a scrap piece of printer paper for that one. I wanted it to be, you know, look like a little, nothing too great, right? And then I did pick through and found some garbage for this one. And this one, of course, my JD like reference was the chocolate bar, and then I had the ticket that said jam on it. It's really like a tag for a jar of jam, but you know, it looks like a ticket shape, so it should work. And then I made a little, I cut out a little bottle and did that as my pull tab because I just didn't have something that was the right size, and I wanted to use the little pile of dirt, but I didn't want to make you pull the little pile of dirt. So, therefore, I just put the little pile of dirt next to the garbage can, which I thought was, I loved that look. So, kind of looks, I don't know, this one to me looked more like a garbage can, you know, that you would see wherever, out and about. Anyways, so here again, just going in with that double-sided score tape to give just that little itty-bitty bump, so it makes that pull through a little bit better. And this one I actually cut down. I think I cut like 1/8 of an inch off the side and the top, so it had a very small border. I wouldn't do that again, hence why I didn't do it in my second one. It just didn't work very well. I did run my card base through again with the little clip out thing, so we could, you know, easier to pull on the pull tab. And then for this one, I did a different sentiment on the inside. And then, of course, coming in, I didn't reference my color scheme was the green ride at Valleyfair, the wild thing. That's where I went with my colors. So, anyways, and then here is your picture of my desk. Yes, this is what my desk looks like when I am creating. I have these everywhere. Yes, it's bad. Anyways, there are both of my cards side by side. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments below. You know, just me being a hot mess express, but keep getting inky. Bye.